I'm just frying off some eggplant here to make a delicious vegetarian cottage pie. Usually when you make a cottage pie, it's filled with mincemeat or some lamb, but I'm here to show you that if you combine eggplant and mushrooms together, you get a fantastic meaty texture. So this is one large eggplant. I've salted it and then just fried it in lots of olive oil so it becomes quite golden brown. So the eggplant is par cooked and we'll add some onion, just like any classic stew, onion, some carrot. I've finely grated it because I don't like the big chunks of carrot in my stew. I just want it to dissolve and give this a nice sweetness. 1 clove of garlic. I'll bruise the garlic and roughly chop it. And that can also go in. Just give it a little stir and just allow them to soften. Now, mushrooms and eggplant are fantastic carriers of flavour. So I'm going to add some chilli, a good hit of chilli flakes, and 1 cinnamon stick. We'll allow them to soften and let's have a look at the mushrooms. Aren't they just gorgeous, so fresh? You can use one type of mushroom for this or a variety, just like I'm doing. So I've got the good old classic button mushroom and some shiitake mushrooms. Look at these fresh shiitakes. You know, usually you get them dried, but if you can get your hands on fresh ones, use them. They're so delicious. Again, just cutting them into quarters. I like this to be quite rustic, so I don't want everything to be finely chopped. And look at these oyster mushrooms. I love how their gills are just completely exposed. I don't chop these. I just pull them apart like this. And that's all you need to do. They will, again, cook down. I've also got some field mushrooms and we'll just chop them. Now, here's a tip with mushrooms, never wash them. If they are a little dirty, what I suggest is just using a pastry brush just to brush them, or even a damp tea towel. If you wash them, they are like sponges, so if you wash them, they're going to absorb all that water. We want to keep their intense flavour. And then some shimeji mushrooms, again, we're just going to pull them apart. So these can now go into our pot and we're going to saute them just until they start to soften and break down. All right, this is looking pretty good. So we can add some tomato paste now, about a tablespoon. And always with tomato paste, just cook it off first. Gee, this smells good. If you're a mushroom lover, you're going to just love this dish. And if you're an eggplant lover, you're also going to love it. So we'll add our eggplant back into our pot. You know, at the beginning, it looked like there are so many vegetables, but it does cook down after a while. Okay, another little stir. And I feel there's not enough mushrooms in here, so I like to add some more. So these are porcini mushrooms, dried porcini mushrooms, and it gives it a wonderful mushroomy flavour, like quite an intense one. So I'm just going to run my knife through it a few times. And what I've done is rehydrated them in about 500 mils of water. So that gives us an instant stock too. So we need stock for this recipe. In with the mushrooms, and I can deglaze now with some red wine to give this a lovely rich flavour. And mushrooms, red wine and eggplant. Oh, you can tell that this is going to be so good. My herb of choice is some rosemary, so we're just going to take the leaves off and add that. Don't overdo it because it's quite strong. I'll now add some of that mushroom stock and some tomatoes. Now, I've got 1 whole can of tomatoes here, but I just want to use the whole tomatoes, none of the juice. So we'll just break them up just like so. You want to cook this for about 30 minutes to 35 minutes or until it's really soft and quite rich. In the meantime, I'm going to make a delicious mash for the crust. So I've just got your classic potatoes. I'm going to peel them, boil them. Once they're tender, I'm just going to mash them with a little bit of butter and some milk. Okay, my mashed potato is ready. How good is mashed potato? And you can see that it's not too runny. I don't want potato puree mashed because I want it to hold its shape on top of the cottage pie. And have a look at this beautiful stew. See, you would never know that there's no meat in there. The cinnamon stick, it's done its job, so I can take that out. and I'm going to just pour this stew into a terracotta dish just like this. Okay, you don't have to do this. You can actually pop this in the oven if you like. I just like the presentation. We'll spread it out, and lashings of our creamy mashed potato on top. And the best way to spread this is not to put it just in one spot, pile it up into bundles and then spread it so we get a nice even amount of that mashed potato. I'll grab a fork and spread that out and down. I kind of like the rustic look because we're going to get an extra crispy topping on this. Great. Final touches, some walnuts. This gives it a really nice crunch. So we'll sprinkle that over the top. And a little Parmesan cheese over the top. You could also use some cheddar. This is also going to help it become super crispy. All right, this now goes into the oven, 200 degrees for about 30 minutes or until it's bubbly and golden brown. Well, doesn't this cottage pie look amazing? I love how crispy it is on the top. And before you serve this, just give it about 20 minutes out of the oven and then serve it up. So generous amount of that onto a plate. Oh, look at that, so saucy. Some extra mushrooms there. I just love the smell of the cinnamon that we incorporated in this dish. And because it is quite rich, I like to serve it with a simple salad, some baby cos that's been dressed with some olive oil, salt, some lemon juice, and a little Parmesan cheese there. That is the ultimate comforting dish, cottage pie. For all my vegetarian connoisseurs, you're going to absolutely love this recipe. For those who love their meat, you're also going to fall in love with this recipe. Delightful.